Hey everybody, this is Dream, and today we have a small 4-game slate for NBA. I'm only going to be doing this video for DraftKings today. I'll get back to FanDuel tomorrow. There's just so many injuries, and there's different slates for each site, so it makes it a little bit harder. With that said, let's get into the teams I like. I have Philly over the Knicks. I have Memphis over Toronto, the Pelicans over Sacramento, and Denver over Minnesota. So this slate does have quite a few injuries for the size. We're going to start with the 76ers here. We have Embiid as questionable. If he was to miss, he would give a boost to Harrell and also the rest of the starters, including Maxey, who's been coming off the bench lately. For the Knicks, Robinson continues to be out, and with him being out, that gives a boost to Hartenstein. Now, keep in mind that Hartenstein comes off the bench, and so he's a little bit capped based on that, but he has been playing really well. Sims tends to start, but he doesn't really seem to do much with it. For the Raptors, Ginobili continues to be out, and that kind of gives a boost to Achua, whose price has come up a lot, so he's kind of priced himself out of usage for the most part, but he and Boucher both kind of get a boost as a result of that situation, but they have been priced up. For the Grizzlies, we have Morant is questionable, Jaren Jackson is questionable, and Adams and Brooks are out. With Adams being out, he's going to give a boost to either Tillman or let's see, Brandon Clark, depending on which guy starts. It'll probably be Tillman, and I do like Tillman most of the time, especially at his cheap price. Then, if Morant was to miss, that would give a big boost to Tyus Jones. With Brooks being out because he's suspended, that will probably give a boost to Bane, as well as maybe John Conchar. And so we'll just have to wait and see how the Jackson Jr. and Morant situation play out. But if Jackson Jr. misses, they will likely start Aldama again. He played really well last game, so I expect him to play well again. I'll just show you him real quick. He had 34 minutes in that game. His price has come up some, but he's still viable on the slate with that situation. Lots of craziness there. For the Sacramento Kings, Fox continues to be out, and Fox kind of gives a boost to a couple guys. Davion Mitchell obviously will likely start. Terrence Davis played really well last game with Fox out. He got a lot more minutes, as you can see, 18 minutes. But he's a little bit risky from that perspective. And then Malik Monk is also getting some upside. And then you could argue that Harrison Barnes and Huter and Murray all get a little bit of a boost as well. Then we're going to look at the Pelicans, and Zion continues to be out. And then Valanciunas is doubtful. And Daniels is questionable. With Valanciunas, if he was to miss, that's going to give Ingram a little bit of a boost, but it's going to give a bigger boost to like Larry Nance and Troy Murphy and Herb Jones and Marshall. Those four will all get a small boost, as well as McCollum and Ingram. Overall, this team, with the injury situations, they have a pretty good core that play every game with all the injuries, in fact. Then with Caldwell Pope being questionable for the Denver Nuggets, that will give a little bit of a boost to Bruce Brown and maybe Highland, but we'll have to wait and see if he misses. And then for the Minnesota Timberwolves, Towns is out, Gobert is questionable, and Anderson is questionable. With Towns and Gobert both being out, if Gobert misses, Naz Reid would get a nice boost, and if Anderson were to miss, that would give a boost to Jaden McDaniels and also Taurean Prince. So that is the injury report today. Obviously, a ton of questionable players, and so that's going to have to, we're going to have to be watching the thing to see how those injuries play out. But we'll at least get some good news, like on Embiid before the slate locks, which is good. So, and for Memphis as well. So, with that said, let's get into the players I do like today at this point. We're going to start with Brandon Ingram for the Pelicans. Now, he has some nice upside at this price. He's gotten too cheap. And I really think he's in a good spot here, especially if Valanciunas is out. He is just underpriced in general, but even if Valanciunas was playing, I would still think he's a good option on the slate. He's played really good in the last couple games since he's been back from injury, and I expect him to continue to do that at this nice price, make him a viable option on the slate. Isaiah Hartenstein obviously looks really good today for the Knicks against Philly. He has played really well coming off the bench for the Knicks since Mitchell's been out, and I look for him to continue that. Obviously, if he could end up drawing the start at some point, and it is a tough matchup against Embiid if he does play, though. Then we'll look at Troy Murphy. I like several of the Pelicans' options today when it comes to the cheaper forwards on the team, but Trey Murphy's been the most consistent, and he has a pretty good price here for the situation. He should get more minutes with those guys out, with Valanciunas out, and if that's the case, then he will be a top tier option on the slate. Should get more usage as well. Then we're going to look at Davion Mitchell for Sacramento. Now, I could I like a lot of different guys for Sacramento, kinda, but not overwhelmingly. But he does look like he's going to have a start again. And while he didn't really come up in price because of his bad performance in the last game, I think he's going to bounce back here and have a good game. He's minimum price basically, so he's definitely viable here. And he's shown in the past that he can do really well in this role. So it's just, I don't know, I'm not really sure exactly what happened last game. Just didn't shoot the ball well or what, but. Overall, I still like him here. Nikola Jokic also looks really good today. He had a triple-double yesterday, but he didn't get a ton of points. We do want him to get over 20 points, really, if he can, with a triple-double, if he can do that most games, which he does most games. It was just the way the game went yesterday for them against Atlanta, but this is even a faster-paced game for them, and I look for him to have another gigantic, massive game, so he's been really good against Minnesota. He had 70 fantasy points last time out against them. I expect a similar performance. Then we're going to look at CJ McCollum for the Pelicans. He's got some nice upside here. His price has actually come down some, and he has a nice matchup. He's got a little bit of upside here as well, so I think he's in a great spot. I imagine his price has come down some because Ingram is back, but I mean, I'm not really sure why his usage and stuff is still good. So then we're going to look at Xavier Tillman from Memphis. He has his price has come up a little bit, which makes it so he's not like a core play, but he is a good option if he starts. And if you don't like somebody else at center or just need a cheap play, then he's somebody to take a look at, assuming he does start. And then obviously there's a couple other guys like Adama and from Memphis, and even John Conchar and a couple guys from Sacramento and the Pelicans that we could get in there, but we're going to have to wait and see on those injuries, obviously, for the 76ers as well, if Embiid was to miss. So, with that said, guys, thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below, and have a nice day, guys.